with Meg and Mel. We are here to help you navigate the world of wine. I'm Mel Gilchrist. I'm joined by Master of Wine, whose name is Meg
Brodman. There you go. I'll help you.
Reg Rodman.
My name is Meg Brodman and I am a Master of Wine.
Thanks, Meg.
No worries, Mel. All good.
She's sleeping better, but I'm still not really getting the full night's
You're
sleep.
a tired chick.
Okay, today we are talking about mousse in wine. So we are talking specifically about the bubbles that you find in a sparkling wine.
Yes, but I have all these definitions and some science. I found this fantastic article which I will put a link to.
I love that you've done this. I was just like, let's taste some bubbles and see what tastes nice.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows,
And
it
you've
is
gone all
8:39 in the morning.
Yeah, we do it right.
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah. Okay, so first, what have you been drinking?
What have I been drinking? Well, in talking about bubbles, I had a half bottle of Asti Spumante.
Did you?
Yes, so it's just
Nasty Asti.
The slightly frizzante one. It was actually muscated Asti, 5% alcohol, very sugary, very sweet, absolutely delicious.
That's very on brand for you.
Yes, I know. It was a half bottle. I thought, what am I ever going to do with it? Like, no one else would drink it with me.
No.
So I just put it in the fridge and opened it and slowly enjoyed it over a couple of days.
Oh,
That was
good on you. That's nice. That's a nice quick one. Fun fact?
Fun fact, so you know how I'm obsessed with all things politics.
You love politics.
I came across this, I don't know where, UK voting intention by alcoholic drink preference. So for those of you who don't know, the UK held their general election last Thursday on Independence Day, which I thought was a bit weird. The Labor government got in 412 seats, absolutely decimated the Tories, but they asked voters what they preferred to drink, and then they asked them who their voting preference was for. So Labor voters preferred cider, white wine and red wine by a long margin. The Tories, which is the Conservatives' nickname, their favourite drink was sherry.
I cannot believe that.
Does that not
Who
track?
drinks sherry?
I know, right? So they had sherry. They also liked a gin and tonic, brandy and whiskey, whereas the Labor voters who clearly drink way more, you can see the red peaks there, cider, white wine, red wine, rosé, Prosecco, gin and tonic, equal with the Tories. Brandy they liked whiskey as well. They loved a shandy.
I'm obsessed that someone actually bothered to do this research. It's so good.
It's so nerdy. It's fantastic. I feel like ringing up.
It's really the collision of your two worlds, isn't it?
No, it doesn't get more exciting. And as I said to Mel last Friday, I sat there just refreshing my feed on The Guardian about finding out who took what seat, and it's all very, very exciting.
You're happy.
I was very happy. And if any of you have watched the Wrexham, Welcome to Wrexham, you know.
Yeah, the soccer one, yeah.
So Wrexham went red. So they voted
What's that?
for the Labor.
Is that Labor?
Labor Party.
Yeah.
So the party that I wanted to win. Keir Starmer is now the new leader of the UK Parliament, Prime Minister of England.
Isn't it been like crazy over there? They had like a woman who, they had like a lettuce.
Yeah, they had Liz Truss who lasted 49 days. The lettuce lasted longer than her. They had David Cameron came in and then they voted for Brexit, and then we had he decided he couldn't carry them through, so they had Liz, what's her name? Theresa May.
Wow.
And then she was the one who couldn't dance, do you remember? Anyway, really bad. Then they had Boris Johnson, absolute freaking disaster. Then they had Liz Truss, the lettuce lady. And then they had Rishi Sunak, who's richer than King Charles.
Well, should we start like a sub-podcast that is like specifically wine and politics?
Wine collide. It'd be fantastic.
Do you know what? I would actually listen to that.
It'd be fantastic.
I would listen to you explaining politics to me because I don't get it.
So Tories love a glass of sherry. That just goes to show they're a bit older demographic, I would say, and Labor just loves a drink, basically. And the Lib Dems, where did the Lib Dems come in most? Because they won a few seats. They came in, gin and tonic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's very fun.
And a sherry. Oh, that's a bit odd. We won't even talk about the Farage party. But anyway, so that's exciting. But just made my...
I'm happy for you, Meg. I love this for you.
I know. I'm going to make that my background on my computer, I think, because I think it's just really cool.
All the graphs.
Yes.
We'll have to do it in Australia. We'll find someone to commission the research.
Yeah. I think it'd be beer, though, for Labor voters.
Yeah, it would.
Because there's the old pub test and I don't know. Anyway, we shall move on.
What do you think? The greens would be like natural wine?
Oh, they probably wouldn't drink anything because, it's bad for the environment. I don't know.
No, they drink natural wine for sure.
Natural wine. Okay.
Yeah, orange wine. Okay, moving on. What we are doing is we have 4 different kinds of sparkling wine in front of us. I said to Meg, let's just do a mousse test because sparkling wine, we love to go on about the mousse. And we talk about it so much like there's a huge difference and you can really tell. And I suspect there's an element of wank, so I'd really like to put it to the test.
So for those of you who don't know, there's 2 things that we talk about in sparkling wine. Mousse is when you pour the wine in your glass and it's the froth that accumulates at the top of the glass. That is the actual official definition of mousse. I did not know that.
Oh. And what's the bubbles?
Bead. The bead is the size of the bubbles.
Oh, yeah,
the bubbles
okay.
That
So I guess I mean the bead
mousse.
then.
So the fact is, reading this article in the Smithsonian, there's a guy who's dedicated his life to studying this. He's a French dude and he was obsessed with blowing bubbles as a kid, so we get his whole backstory. But it's the proteins released from lees aging impact on the way the bubbles form and last. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, tank fermented wines should have a bigger bead, and then mousse
because they're not having the lees.
Yes, because they don't have the sort of budding site. But there's a whole heap of science behind it. Depends on the pressure of the bottle. And this article, seriously, I won't go into it because Mel looks like she's going to fall asleep. But it's also the amount of dosage in the wine, the cork that it's aged on.
Yeah, no, it's all very interesting. I'm not being sarcastic.
But
it is.
Do read this article because I can't do it justice.
Summarise it.
Oh, I can't because it's very long.
Okay.
But all the bubbles are extremely important. Proteins in the wine, including the ones from exploded dead yeast cells, stabilise smaller bubbles that make the desired mousse foam at the top of a champagne glass and a sharper pop in the mouth.
So do we care about the foam at the top? I guess I'm talking about bead.
What we're talking about is if there's foam at the top, carbon dioxide's being released at the top of the glass. And that can actually affect on how you taste wine because you're actually breathing in carbon dioxide. So you don't want the carbon dioxide to be released too quickly.
So
Mel's dragging out her textbook.
I'm grabbing the textbook. I swear to God they call it mousse in Wetset. So you're saying that the mousse, so when we pour a wine, that foam at the top
is the mousse.
Is a reliable indicator of how it's going to taste in our mouth?
No. The persistence, if it persists longer, if it doesn't just dissipate really quickly. If it dissipates really quickly, it's releasing carbon dioxide into the glass, and that's why champagne glasses are a bit shaped like that. So in this study, they actually looked at the shape of the glass. So a flute will contain the carbon dioxide more than a coupe because a coupe will let the CO2 dissipate into the air.
Yes.
But you're actually drinking some carbon dioxide.
Yes.
Whereas if you have a fine mousse that slowly dissipates, it's releasing the carbon dioxide into the glass at a slower rate. And that will impact the way the wine tastes.
What, it releases from the top down?
No, so the bubble comes up from the bottom.
Yeah.
The mousse forms.
Yeah.
The mousse is the carbon dioxide in bubble form. Okay, so that's stabilised as a bubble. You know when you do a bubble bath and sometimes all the bubbles disappear?
Yes.
And sometimes they don't.
Yes.
So we want ones that don't disappear really quickly.
Okay.
That will give you an indication of the finer bead in the wine, so the bubble will be smaller and there won't be as much carbon dioxide when you take your first mouthful of the wine.
Ah, okay. Well,
it's really I did not know this.
Well, that's the theory, right?
That's the theory. So the first one we're pouring is a Riccadonna Prosecco. So we know that this is tank fermented. And so it doesn't have any potentially lees aging.
Riccadonna Isn't it like famous?
Yeah, they make the Asti Spumante.
Yeah.
But this is their Prosecco. So what we're looking at is the persistence of the bubble at the top, which is dissipated pretty quickly. And I can see the bubbles in here and they're quite big and they're not coming up from the centre of the glass. Just so you know, we are using Riedel champagne glasses.
Yeah, so the theory behind champagne glasses, the style that we're using is kind of like a sharp, big tulip type style.
Yep.
So it's not a flute, but the biggest thing that you want is a pointy bottom.
Yep.
And what that should do is make a beautiful bead of beads, bubbles, all come up in a line from the centre of the bottom there.
So what we're seeing in this glass is that there are bubbles stuck to the side of the glass, which are quite big, and then there's finer bubbles just popping all over. So it's shaped like a V.
Yes.
And then
It's
it
just a
goes
V
in
shape.
a little bit at the top. But the thing about the mousse is it's not just the proteins, which can make it creamier, but it's also the amount of carbon dioxide. So at 1.5 grams per litre of carbon dioxide, you could feel it. It gives that little bite in your mouth. But at 3.5 grams, it actually hurts when you taste it because it goes up your nose. You've got the carbon dioxide being released into your nose. So this has got what I would describe as a fairly aggressive mousse or bead.
But they dissipate really quickly.
Yeah, but you almost have to squeeze them out because there's too much. It's like Coca-Cola. It's too fizzy.
It's fizzy, but it's not. It's weird.
But it is Prosecco, serve it chilled. That's the other thing that they found. If you pour it as like a beer, there's more persistent mousse. And softer mousse if you pour it straight into the glass, because obviously more carbon dioxide is getting splashed out if you're pouring it straight in. Also, if it's colder, the carbon dioxide stays dissolved longer. So what we're talking about, people, despite the terms of mousse bead, is we're talking about the feel of the bubble in your mouth.
I think it tastes like a Diet Coke that's been in the fridge for like 2 days.
Yeah, well, I don't drink Diet Coke, so I don't know, but it tastes like super over.
Oh, that was a little flex. I wouldn't know. I don't put that into my body.
I just don't like
my
it.
body is a temple.
No, yeah, my body is a theme park, but it is not a temple. It's an amusement park, mate. Or it has been. I just don't like Coke. It does something to my teeth.
Yeah.
But it's like really sparkling water.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, it's like sparkling water.
Yeah. It's too aggressive.
And it's not lovely. Anyway. Next one. I better get us a spittoon, seeing as it's 8 a.m, shouldn't I?
Yes, and I have to drive and go out for lunch, so... I'll give you just some more science while Mel's getting the spittoon. So this guy has studied, he can actually put bubbles in by putting ultrasonic sound into wine and making it super bubbly, and people just for the visual impact.
Wow.
And people will rate a really cheap wine that's been supersonically bubbled up visually as a good wine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just basically looking at the number of bubbles that are coming out.
Yeah, so this actually did happen when we were doing photography for that super fancy Chandon that came out. The photographer, they were putting in sugar and they were getting really excited because there was heaps of bubbles just like everywhere in the glass. And I was like, guys, I know that you're excited about this photography, but that's not a good sparkling.
No.
Like, that's not actually what we want. We want a beautiful line of beads from the bottom is what we're trying to capture. I'm sorry for your photo.
Well, in this study, he was saying that he knows of wineries that add egg white, because it's a protein, to the sparkling wine so that the mousse really persists in the glass so that it looks... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the next one we have is a Rob Dolan Blanc de Blanc. Now, this is a Charmat, so this is a second fermentation in tank method. It's not fermented in bottle and it's not aged on lees after the second fermentation. However, the base wine before the second fermentation is aged on lees for 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
So there may be some impact of that, of the yeast breaking down in the base wine to give a more creamy mousse.
Okay.
So we've got 3 different styles. So the first thing I notice is that the mousse is much more persistent than like the foam.
That is like a fingernail's width of foam sitting on top.
And probably takes, 10, 15 seconds to dissipate?
Yeah.
The bubbles still aren't coming up from the centre. They seem to be coming up from the side of the glass.
Yeah.
But it is a finer bubble, and you can look at the top.
No, they're still definitely coming up vertically. You can see the lines, vertical lines.
Yeah, they are. And you can see that at the popping at the top, you're still getting a little bit of froth.
Yes.
So that's kind of the persistent mousse as well. So this is made from 100% Chardonnay. Finer. It seems the bubbles more across all of my palette.
Yes. There's more bubbles, but they're less aggressive. They're kind of bubbles, but there's more of them. It's foamy.
Yeah, whereas with the Prosecco, I felt they were sitting right in the middle of my tongue and I had to almost squeeze them out on the on the roof of my mouth. Whereas this, it goes right across my palate and I can feel the little effervescence. It's like having a warhead or sherbet. It's all that sherbety feeling across your tongue.
Yeah.
This has there's a little bit of sugar in there as well, so that's sort of playing around with the flavour.
Yeah, is there more than usual?
Who knows which? It's a non-vintage product, so it goes depends on what's. But I can notice it maybe because it's first thing in the morning as well.
First thing in the morning. So this will be interesting actually to compare. So the next one we have is Method Traditional, right?
Yes. I've got a Method Traditional and a champagne because we know champagne has to be aged for 15 months and this is a Mousse 4 ons. So I'm assuming that means either it's been aged on cork for 4 years, you need to look it up, or it's been aged on lees for
I'll look it up.
4 years. And I didn't, it's my husband's wine, so I'll replace it, Pete. So we have Howard Park Petit Jeté Method Traditional Brut Non-Vintage. This is from WA. And this we know has been aged on yeast lees because it's Method Traditional.
Yep.
And the mousse is very persistent and very frothy when you first pour it into your glass.
So frothy. That was like half the... So when I said the Robdolin was like a fingernail's width, I reckon that was 4 or 5 fingernails width.
Yes, about 4 or 5 centimetres.
So in theory, is that meant to be a good thing? Do we see that and go, oh, good?
Well, I think so. It's sort of saying what's happening is that this is the theory behind it, if I've read it correctly.
Yeah.
Is that the proteins in the wine are stabilising the bubble so that it forms that little froth.
Okay.
On your beer head, basically, on your champagne head or your sparkling wine head.
Yeah.
The bead, the size of the bubble is very small here and it is going in a straight line. Is that what we're looking for, Mel? Well, it's a little bit wobbly now because my hand's shaking, but...
Yeah. So it's weird because there's some bubbles sticking around the outside, but when you look in the middle, there is that nice line coming up from the centre still.
And that is definitely a creamier mouthfeel texturally. Mm-hmm. The bubble feels smaller. It feels like it's tickling you.
It's weird. It feels like there's less bubbles than the Robdolin.
Well, that's probably true. Because
I wasn't expecting that after such a big mousse.
Because the proteins are stabilising the bubble, they're combining with the bubble, so it's not feeling as effervescent on your palate.
Yeah.
So you need to read this article because it's all very sciencey, and this is literally for us is just a taste test. We're not telling you the true science behind it. But we know that this is Method Traditional. We don't know how long it's been aged on. 18 months on yeast lees, it says on the back, so read the label, Meg. So I wanted to get this one, A, because I think that they're doing some really interesting stuff over there, and B, just to compare an good quality Australian sparkling with a champagne. But that definitely feels creamier and softer on my palate.
Do you think the creamier, though, has to do with the... Like, say for a Chardonnay, if you were on lees, it would be creamier. Is the creaminess not to do with the bubbles?
The creaminess is to do with the proteins from the yeast lees and the proteins in the wine. But
is the base wine creamy?
No. It's acidic. You've tasted base wine. I
know what you're saying. But I mean,
the Chardonnay, no, because you're picking the Chardonnay at 11.5%, 12%. It doesn't have that richness and fatness that we expect from Chardonnay.
Creaminess, it's weird that bubbles, because there's a creaminess, but I feel like there's a bubble and a creaminess. Not the bubble is making the creaminess. You know what I mean?
All right. So imagine when you put a mouthful of sherbet in your mouth and it kind of all effervescence up.
Yeah.
It's that kind of creamy feel as opposed to a warhead where it's just like,
yeah,
that sort of sharpness to it. And this is mouth-filling.
Yep.
And it persists for longer. And for me, the reason I don't drink soft drink is I find the bubble really aggressive. And I also like sparkling water that has lower fizz to it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think I prefer method traditional, because even though the bubble's there, it just feels softer. It doesn't feel like I have to squeeze it out in my mouth. I can let the bubble dissipate naturally with the heat of my mouth.
That persistence is an interesting point. Can I have the Riccadonna back, please?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you put it in your mouth, it actually does persist. Like I
can still feel it.
It's got the beautiful bubbles actually hang out there for a while. Whereas
with the Riccadonna, or do we go back? Is it really going to make it look nasty?
They persist, but not in a good way. They do. They feel aggressive. Like, go away.
They almost hurt.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
On the side of your tongue.
Yeah.
And that's what they think that yeast leaves, but also the sugar as well, is doing. Basically it's giving them. It's almost enveloping the bubble. This is not what happens scientifically, so don't hold me to account for this, but I'm trying to explain it visually. It envelops the bubble so that it slowly opens up like a little tulip rather than boop.
Yeah.
It pops in your mouth.
Okay. So the Mum 4, the mature wine is clearly labelled to show the number of years spent on lees rather than a specific vintage
So this
year.
will be interesting. We've got 18 months versus 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's good that I can buy it at Dan Murphy's because I need to replace this Pedro. I apologise. His boss bought it for him for something.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they're nice people. So big mousse.
Big mousse.
Big foam at the top. Little
foam.
Beery.
Dissipates quickly, but it looks thick.
Yeah, it does look thick. And the bubbles, there's a lot of bubbles there and they're super small.
See, all the bubbles are coming in a very straight line right from the middle. That is perfection. That's exactly how it should look.
Okay, and apparently from our conversation with Mark from Riedel, didn't he say that they put an etch in the bottom of these glasses as a budding site for the bubbles?
Yes. Like, look at that straight line. They are perfect. They're perfect lines going up from the bottom of the
almost looks
glass.
like you're drawing lines on wallpaper. It is so beautiful.
They shouldn't be erratic. They should be in beautiful little lines.
Oh, yum. Oh, that is good.
I love champagne.
So do I. So, very creamy.
Yeah.
Toasty, lots of different flavours, but super soft and gentle on your mouth. You could just drink that all day. Billy, stay asleep. Mum's going to have a few glasses of bubbles.
It's really hard tasting this and not going into tasting notes. In my mind, I'm like, no. Leave the characters alone. Focus on the bubble.
And this is the thing with wine tasting is texture is mouthfeel. The structural elements of wine is really important. For those of you studying diploma and WSET at every level and MW, it's not just about the flavours. It's about the way that wine feels. You hold that in your mouth and the bubble just slowly feels like it's frothing away in your mouth.
It tickles your tongue and froths in the mouth. And if you do a little, if you move your tongue around, it almost reignites it a little bit.
True.
Yeah.
And that just then almost finished quite sharp on my mouth because I kind of did a bit of a which I don't think you should do with champagne. I just want to compare that to the Petit Jeté.
Yeah. Can you please...
Have you got...
redo mine.
So just because one's 18
months. So to confirm, the Petit Jeté was the method traditional...
From Howard Park.
From Howard Park, which is Western Australia.
And it just says early picked parcels of fruit.
That is actually doing a beautiful look at that.
Yeah, definitely.
We might... I might try and make an Instagram video to show what we're talking about, to compare what the Riccadonna versus one of these method traditional looks like in glass, because it is very different.
I mean, you look at that mum now and it's just the finest little bubble rising out. I mean, it is beautiful. And this is what this article in the Smithsonian talks about, that we rate sparkling wine on visual cues first.
This is true.
So we can apparently sonically blast table wine to make it look expensive based on bubbles.
God, that's sad.
Yeah, but then you've got to taste it.
Um,
Yeah, the mum definitely, just the feel of it. And this is where we'll definitely get that house
it's the feel. You're right. It's not just...
Well, there's all the yeasty loveliness. But
which is great. But the feel of it is absolutely different. Just that amount of time on lees.
100%. And this is why I love sparkling wine so much, because it is that feel of a Chardonnay, which has got more minerality. So I see that plus the acidity, but it's got the creaminess as well. And so certain producers aging for different periods of time, if they've got wood, it all impacts on the feel of the champagne. And I really love drinking champagnes that aren't aggressive. I just don't love aggressive wines. Mel's just come back with what looks like a very weird shaped glass.
I just need to rinse it. What should I rinse it with?
We'll do the Prosecco because...
So this is a sparkling wine glass worth like about $100.
Oh my God.
And I just...
Is this what you use at like Domaine Chandon and
where
fancy
this
places?
came from?
So it is literally like someone is blowing glass.
It's hand blown.
And they've got a V at the bottom and it is a circle. It's
So-
like an air balloon.
Basically, when we came out with that really expensive glass, really expensive sparkling, I was looking at the Salador and I was like, people cannot be drinking that sparkling out of the same old flutes that we use in Salador. So we started buying all these different sparkling wine glasses, and this was my favourite.
You have the best job.
I know it looks obnoxious, but I love how
It looks beautiful because I love...
It's enormous.
Like I would love to do glass blowing.
Yes.
I think my lungs are a bit too fucked for
and
that. But
how thin it is, so
fine.
thin.
But one of your ones, this one's really fine too.
True, it is. So that usually means it's hand blown if it's that fine.
It is literally, I don't know, not even half a centimetre, maybe 4 mils wide.
So we're just tacking this on at the end. Meg, tell me if this big, beautiful, amazing $100 sparkling glass makes any difference to...
It looked less frothy, which I think is okay. The bubble is more active.
Yeah, look at that right in the centre.
Yeah, it's like a volcano.
Yeah.
Now, did you buy these for the change in flavour or the change in texture?
We used them. We tasted a wine in all these different sparkling glasses, and we found that the sparkling, at least of that specific wine,
that is beautiful.
Right?
It's really hard to drink out of that glass, though.
It's hard to drink out of, but it brought the wine to life beautifully. It brought forth interesting flavours somehow, like it really highlighted almost like a floral note that wasn't in the other wines. Like, it actually changes the wine and evolves it.
Try it, because I think that the mousse looks a little bit more bubbly.
Yeah, okay.
It's really hard to drink out of because there's no lip, because it goes in.
Mm-hmm. More mousse, that's interesting.
Wow. And who makes that? Lehman.
Lehman, that's it.
Never heard of it.
Lehmann.
Yeah, German?
Yeah.
And that's $100.
Beautiful, isn't it? I love it.
You're going to have to hand wash that tonight. So, take home message.
Yes.
I think, for me, the feeling of the mousse, the aggressiveness of the bubble impacts on my enjoyment of a sparkling wine.
Yeah, like for me, I learned that it's not just wank, that it's real.
No, it's real.
Yeah.
And the more lees contact you have, obviously, the creamier the mousse is going to be. That said, something like a Prosecco is meant to be enjoyed as a young, fresh wine.
Yes.
And we don't analyse Prosecco.
Absolutely not. We
So-
drink Prosecco at brunch with orange juice in it and have fun.
Or Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
I mean, the Aperol Spritz was invented for Prosecco.
I love that. Okay, so that's our episode of Mousse. Definitely get some wine, enjoy yourself, have a think next time you're having sparkling wine, if you can tell. We are going to move on to a final drop. We are looking at a wine, a Mataro Durif from the Riverland. So Stars Reach Vineyard, it's called Confluence. So this kind of came from at the start of the year when we were talking about Riverland a bit. A few vineyards reached out and said that they've got stuff. Because remember the first episode we did? We just did like crap one.
So Sheridan wrote us an email talking about...
Sheridan's one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Sheridan. Wrote us an email talking about the impact on the whole industry. Now, I saw something that she's doing. It's some fucking amazing thing. And I cannot remember. I will find it and I will tell Mel. There was something in the newspaper the other day that she's obviously an absolute star of a person in the industry.
Yeah.
And cares enormously about her home. So this is Confluence, which is a meeting place where, you know, all things are yummy. This is obviously from... Well, they're saying there's a confluence of blueberry and blah, 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 blah. But confluence means joining, you know, where everything comes together. This is what we need to be doing in the Riverland. We need to the warmer regions. And when we were talking about doing the Riverland, the warmer regions as an episode, I said we were going to talk, I was talking to her on email, we were going to talk about cool wines, daggy regions. And she came back and she said, no, cool wines, hot regions.
Yeah.
So that's what we called the episode. But they are doing some amazing wines. They've got brightness, luminosity, fruition, slipstream, confluence, interstellar. I mean...
You know
just
what's
great.
Interesting is that we had a Grenache there and we were like, nah, let's do the Durif.
Well, Matara Durif, you know.
It's called Matara Durif. Legally, do they have to have more Matara than Durif to name it that way? Yeah, okay, so it's more Matara than Durif.
Unless they're 50-50.
I've never tasted Matara on its own.
We have. We did.
Have we?
We did one... ages ago, but I don't think we can expect it to remember everything that we've tasted.
Well, no, we've tasted a lot of wine.
That's delicious.
I am so pleasantly surprised.
I would argue gluten-free, really. That's when I see gluten-free ham at the supermarket. I'm just like, sustainably grown, vegan-friendly, and this is who they are, a family of farmers. Which is lovely. With a love for the land, we have cared for this patch of paradise in the Riverland for 6 generations.
That's nice.
And believe in low input and regenerative wine grape growing so they can share in its goodness and protect. And these guys just seem to be all over sustainability of the industry and their patch and their region. And this is an absolutely beautiful wine. Pete said to me the other night, we're drinking too much white, I want red.
Huh.
And so I said, we've got heaps of red. And I went through it and nothing grabbed our fancy at all. If I'd had this would have been great with my beautiful eye fillet the other night.
This makes me think that Durif should be blended more. Like, why is Durif always a single varietal? It actually makes so much sense to add a layer in a blend.
Well, it's interesting you say that because you did put down on our thing that we should be looking at odd blends.
Yeah.
And so I started researching it the other day and I came across the Pinot Shiraz blend, which is a bit trendy at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
But it's been done by the Hunter for decades, but not really shouted about.
Yes.
And we do these blends, but they always fly under the radar. We are such a nation of single variety.
Yes.
And Durif has a market.
Yeah, it does.
But this is light.
It's just like Durif is so interesting. Like there is like a really grunty earthiness that I think would add something a really cool layer.
Yeah, definitely.
To it can be too much on its own. But even here, blended with Mataro, it makes so much more sense.
But I mean, I'm just looking at the colour. It doesn't have that dark colour of Durif, and we are seeing younger winemakers taking Durif in a new direction.
Yeah.
They're backing off on the extraction. This is 14.5% alcohol. It's got lots of blueberries and violets. It's quite a light wine, even though it's 14.5% alcohol. It's just handled very, very well.
Yeah.
And I think that, blending helps. And I think with this, what they're doing, the Stars Reach seem to be trying to reposition what I call daggy into really fantastic. The labelling's excellent. That wine
awesome.
is fabulous. How much is it? Do we know?
No, we can look.
But it won't be expensive. Confluence, here we go. Okay. It's not working on my mobile phone.
So the Mataro Durif, 25.
That is bloody delicious. And it's 14.5% alcohol. You don't even notice it.
No, you don't notice it. I did not notice that. Good on her.
That would have been so good with my eye fillet the other night. I wish it had been sent to me and not you. So those of you who are doing this sort of stuff with, you know, from, I hate to say daggy regions, we'll take Sheridan's term, hot regions, send them in to us. We were really interested in looking at odd / traditional blends.
Yeah.
So they may have been traditional but not really talked about. I think we need to talk more about blends, basically, in Australia.
It. Okay, cool. Well,
that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
But look,
Yeah.
In your fancy glass, look at that. It's like a tornado.
And that is how it should look, Meg. That is exactly.
It is literally like Twister coming up and then forming a cloud at the top.
I mean, that speaks to the quality of glass and the quality of wine. But
oh my God.
I will put up a video because that is exactly how it should look. And like, look at
it's like a Twister.
Look at these other ones. Dead. It's bloody beautiful. Have fun with your sparkling. Definitely.
We're having fun with our new glass.
I will try and get pictures of everything so that you can see what the hell we're talking about. We will be back with you next time. Until then, enjoy your next glass of wine.
Drink well.